Hey guys, what's up? It's Alli. Let's talk baby names. So these days I seem to have quite the list going in my phone. Every time I hear a name or see a name that I'm just like drawn to, I put it in my phone and it's getting a little out of control. But as we're getting closer to parenthood, I'm starting to think more about the names that are true contenders in the race. So I do have a section of names in there in my phone notes that I love, but I really could never get away with using. Whether it be because I know someone with the name, there's someone from either my past or my husband's past that make it difficult to use the name, or it just doesn't work with our last name or any middle names that we plan to use. So I am going to talk about the 10 baby names that I love, but I just can't use. So to kick things off, I will go back and forth between girl names and boy names. And the first girl name that I love is actually kind of a twofer. I love the name Madison. I love it. And I also love the name Addison, but my name is Allison, and so Madison or Addison just sounds way too much like Allison, and there's just no way I could use that because someone would go and call for Madison or Addison and I would think it was me, or someone would say Allison, and it would just be complicated. But I love those names. They're just so cute. I love the idea of having the nickname Maddie or Addie. I think both of those are so cute, but just because my name is Allison, can't work. Just not in the cards for us. So the first boy name that I love but won't be using is the name Mason. I think this is such a sweet boy name, but it's becoming a bit more popular and it's just not really the style of my husband and I for our family. So it's really cute. I love it for other people, but it's not for us. The second girl name that I love but unfortunately won't be using is the name Claire. Now I love the name not necessarily for a first name but for a middle name because it's simple, it's timeless, and it just could really work with a lot of different first names. And I first came up with this name to use for a child because my father's mother's name was Clarice, and not the biggest fan of Clarice, but Claire is kind of like a version of that, so it would have some sentimental meaning to my family. But unfortunately on my husband's side there is just some like ex-girlfriend connection somewhere down the road, so immediately that was nixed. So unfortunately Claire not in the running, but would have been kind of cool. The second boy name on the list is Julian. Now, this name goes back a long time with my husband and I because we've constantly had the name out there as a contender. Even since we were in our early stages of dating, whenever kids came up, Julian was kind of the name that we just gravitated towards in more ways that were like joking than actually being serious that this will be our child, his name will be Julian. It's a really nice name. I'm not in love with it, and I just think that since my husband and I have had the name just like tossed around so many times, it doesn't have like this special feeling to it anymore. It's more like a joke, like our made-up child whose name was Julian, who we would just joke about when we were talking about maybe having kids someday. I mean, we still talk about it like it could possibly be a name, but at this point, we've come so far in our relationship, it almost seems silly to bring a name that we joked around with so long ago and make it actually a reality now. I don't know, it just doesn't really feel right. But then on top of that, like, what nickname would you have for Julian? Jules? Like, that's kind of a girl's name. If their middle name had a J, like JJ, I don't know, like there's no nickname for it, so that makes it kind of less appealing as well. So yeah, probably not Julian if we ever end up having a boy. The third girl name that I love is Olivia. This is just such a beautiful name, but it's so popular these days, and I don't want my child growing up in a classroom full of like 5 other Olivias and then have to be known as Olivia D instead of just Olivia. Like, I want there to be some sort of unique element to the name where it's not like totally made up, but it's not a name that they're going to have a really big group of peers with the same name. So maybe it could be a middle name just because it's so beautiful, but likely not a first name. So the third boy name on my list is actually really similar to Olivia, which I didn't realize until I'm talking about it out loud right now, but Oliver. I think this is such a handsome name, but my husband would never go for it. Never. Maybe for a cat, so maybe I'll hang on to it until we get another cat someday. But for a son, yeah, I don't see him ever going for it. He would just make some sort of sarcastic comment about them being called Alli and how that would just be crazy and whatever. So, you know, that's a name that I keep to myself that I love, but I just know it's asking for criticism if I tell my husband that that's what I want to name my son, even though I love it. It's just not his style, so passing on that one unless we use it for a cat, so noted. The fourth girl's name that I love is Alexandra, and mostly because I just love the idea of being able to call her Lexi. I've always loved the name Alexa, Alexis, Lexi, like really any variation of Alexandra, but Alexandra in general is just a beautiful name. I think it's a little bit too formal for my husband and I. I don't see us naming our child something that I don't know, elegant or old-fashioned. I don't know if that's the right way to put it. And my cats are fighting. Guys, really? I'm busy here. I swear. They're just having a stare down. Stop it. Rascals. So yes, Alexandra, I love the name, but probably won't be using it either. Fourth on my boy list is Michah. I think this is a just really strong name. It's been on my mind more recently as something that I would like to name my son if the stars aligned and everything worked out, but guys, cats, man. So the fourth name on my boy list is the name Michah, and this is a name that has been more on my mind recently, and if the stars aligned perfectly, I would totally put this name in the running for a son. However, their nickname would obviously be Mike, most likely, and that just doesn't work well. You know, there's been people in my past that I don't want my son named after, and it's just kind of a generic name too. No offense to anyone. Michael is a very nice name. Mike is just very classic. Yeah, and nothing against it. This sounds terrible, but you know, I just want something that's a little bit different, and I'm really into names where the full name can have a nickname, and just, I feel like even if I called him Michah all the time, other people would call him Mike, and I just don't see that going very well, so unfortunately, probably not. Maybe for a middle name, because you can't make up a nickname for a middle name. I don't know. I'm just rambling now, so. Anyways, moving on. So the fifth name for a girl that I love and think is adorable is Eliza. And I think the name Liza would be really cute for a nickname, but my husband has like a childhood friend or something. There's some connection like way back when. So when I brought up this name one time and was like, I love it, it's so great, he was like, yeah, no, I know someone with that name, and yeah, no. So that was shot down real quick, but that's okay. Maybe another middle name contender. This is what I'm doing. I'm being strategic with my names here. If my husband would never go for it for a first name, I'm just like, well, I'll just put it on the middle names list. I can't let go of it that quickly. So Eliza, maybe a middle name, but probably not a first name. So the last name on my list for a boy is the name Landon. And this is such a strong, manly name. However, it's not something that you see all the time or hear all the time. So that's why I really like it. But there is now a connection at my work to someone with a very similar name, and there's just no way I would want to name my child anything close to his name, because that would just be extremely awkward, and I just don't see that going very well. So no Landon, unfortunately, but maybe sometime down the road, if I totally get some good distance from my current job, we'll see what happens. But even still, it's like that reminder of someone that you know with a really similar name, and it just kind of ruins it for you, which is such a bummer, but it is what it is. So those are my 10 baby names that I love but won't be using, at least for a first name. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more videos, and I will see you again soon.